Every single time you feel the burning urge to explain yourself to someone who does not understand you, you are quietly handing over the keys to your own mental prison. You think you are defending your honor, but in reality, you are begging for permission to exist. This is the hidden trap that drains the power of even the most emotionally resilient individuals, an invisible tax paid in the currency of your own peace. We live in a world that demands constant justification, where an unanswered message is treated as a crime and a boundary is viewed as an act of war. Yet, the moment you step onto the exhausting treadmill of over-explanation, you unconsciously signal to the world that your decisions are not valid until someone else approves them. True psychological sovereignty does not require a defense attorney. The strongest version of you is not the one who wins the argument, but the one who realizes the argument was never worth having in the first place. When you choose to drop the shield and stop explaining, something extraordinary happens to your internal state. You instantly reclaim the massive energy you used to waste on people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Consider the profound weight of this reality. Why do we feel this desperate need to clarify our intentions to those who have already judged us? Psychologists refer to this as a form of reassurance seeking, a trauma response triggered by the fear of rejection or abandonment. We falsely believe that if we just find the perfect combination of words, the other person will finally see our heart and validate our path. But Stoicism cuts through this illusion with absolute, uncompromising clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that what others think of you is entirely outside your sphere of choice, existing completely within the realm of external things you cannot control. When you exhaust your spirit trying to correct a false impression, you're attempting the impossible task of managing another person's mind. You are burning your own light to keep someone else warm, someone who would rather sit in the dark and complain about the cold. The urge to explain is almost always rooted in a subtle form of anxiety, a lingering belief that you owe the world an account of your private life. You do not. The day you accept this truth is the day you stop living your life on the defensive. Imagine the sudden immense shift in personal power that occurs when you meet an accusation or a critical question with absolute undisturbed silence. Silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of emotional containment. When someone demands to know why you changed your habits, why you left a toxic environment, or why you no longer participate in their drama, they are testing the strength of your perimeter. If you rush to defend your choices, you allow them to sit as the judge of your life, while you stand in the witness box pleading your case. But when you look at them and offer nothing but a calm, unwavering gaze, you rewrite the dynamic entirely. You are demonstrating that your reality is self-sustaining and requires no external validation to remain true. This is the core of the Stoic concept of assent, the disciplined practice of controlling how you respond to impressions. The world will throw its opinions, its criticisms, and its demands at you like arrows, but they only pierce your armor if you open the gates of your mind to welcome them in. By remaining silent, the arrows simply fall to the ground, spent and meaningless. To truly master this level of emotional detachment, you must deeply internalize the sharp divide between what is up to you and what is not. Your actions, your character, your boundaries, and your integrity are entirely up to you. The way another person interprets those actions, the stories they invent to make sense of your boundaries, and the labels they place on your character are completely up to them. No amount of talking, no masterfully crafted speech, and no tearful explanation can force a closed mind to open. People do not see you as you are. They see you through the distorted lens of their own insecurities, histories, and hidden biases. When someone misinterprets your silence as arrogance or your boundaries as cruelty, that is not a reflection of your reality, but a confession of their own internal disorder. An emotionally strong person recognizes this boundary instantly and refuses to carry psychological weight that belongs to someone else. You are responsible for being just, kind, and honorable, but you are not responsible for managing the emotional reactions of those who dislike your growth. Think about the sheer liberation of realizing that you do not owe anyone an explanation for choosing your own sanity. You do not need to explain why you are tired, why you need solitude, or why you are walking away from relationships that no longer serve your higher purpose. Every time you try to justify a healthy boundary, you dilute its strength and invite the other person to negotiate your terms. You are giving them a vote in a domain where they should have no voice. The ancient philosophers understood that the highest form of freedom is autarky, complete self-sufficiency of the soul. When you are self-sufficient, you no longer view the disapproval of others as a catastrophic event, but merely as a natural weather pattern in the human landscape. Let them talk, let them wonder, and let them misunderstand. Your life is not a court case, and you are not on trial. As you sit with this profound realization, notice how the frantic noise of the world begins to fade, replaced by a deep, immovable quiet within your own chest. The cage door is wide open, and the only thing keeping you inside is the habit of asking for permission. The moment you choose to step out of that cage, you will inevitably face the ultimate test of your new sovereignty, the sting of betrayal and the weight of public projection. It is easy to maintain your composure in isolation, but the true measure of your stoic armor is revealed when those you once trusted turn their misunderstanding into a weapon. When you stop explaining yourself, people will not simply fall silent. They will often fill the vacuum of your silence with malice, gossip, and false narratives. They will paint you as the villain of their story, simply because you refuse to play the role they assign to you. This is the precise moment where most people break, rushing back to the defensive to clear their name and patch up their reputation. But the ancient masters knew that trying to fix a broken reputation by arguing with the ignorant is like trying to wash off mud using dirty water. You only make yourself dynamic, messy, and deeply entangled in the very filth you are trying to escape. Consider how the great emperor Marcus Aurelius woke up every single morning knowing he would face betrayal, ingratitude, and deceit from the very people he governed. As the absolute ruler of the known world, he possessed the power to crush any critic, silence any detractor, and command total obedience with a single word. Yet, his private journals reveal a man who chose the path of radical restraint, reminding himself that those who do wrong do so out of ignorance of what is truly good. When his closest general, Avidius Cassius, betrayed him and attempted to seize the imperial throne, Marcus did not launch into a passionate public defense or seek bloody vengeance. Instead, he viewed the betrayal not as a personal assault, but as a natural event in a flawed world, offering forgiveness before the conflict even concluded. He understood that a leader's sovereignty is not maintained by controlling the loyalty of others, but by maintaining absolute command over his own character. When you are betrayed, your immediate impulse is to cry out, to explain your side, and to force the world to see the injustice. But Marcus teaches us that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This profound historical restraint maps perfectly onto modern psychological projection, which explains exactly why people react so aggressively to your silence. When someone attacks your choices or demands an explanation, they are rarely responding to what you actually did. Instead, they are projecting their own unresolved insecurities, their fears of inadequacy, and their frustration with their own lack of boundaries onto you. Your refusal to justify yourself acts as a mirror that reflects their own powerlessness back at them, and they despise what they see. When you see this clearly, your anger evaporates and is replaced by a profound, unshakable pity. You realize that their hostility is not a critique of your worth, but a loud, public confession of their own internal chaos. Why would you ever allow your peace of mind to be held hostage by the psychological dysfunctions of another person? To argue with a projecting mind is to accept their illness as your own reality. By refusing to engage with these projections, you naturally cultivate a state of strategic scarcity. In an era obsessed with oversharing, where every thought is broadcasted and every action is justified for public consumption, your silence becomes an incredibly potent form of currency. When you become scarce, you become unreadable, and when you are unreadable, you cannot be manipulated or controlled. You create a psychological boundary that forces others to sit with their own discomfort rather than draining your vital energy. If you are finding value in this quiet reclamation of your personal sovereignty, consider subscribing to ensure our paths cross again. Scarcity shifts the dynamic entirely, moving you from a position of constant availability to one of absolute self-possession. You no longer offer your thoughts, your reasons, or your presence to those who treat them as cheap commodities. You become like a fortified citadel, completely self-contained, utterly unbothered by the siege engines of external opinion, and entirely focused on the cultivation of your own internal virtue. But the deepest, most agonizing trials of your silence will not come from strangers or distant enemies. They will come from the people who share your dining table and your history. When you begin to cultivate radical self-discretion, the loudest pushback always originates from close family and friends. This is the classic psychological phenomenon known as the crabs in a bucket mentality. When a single crab attempts to climb out of the bucket to find freedom, the other crabs do not cheer its escape. They reach up with their claws and violently drag it back down to share their collective fate. Your loved ones have built a comfortable, predictable map of who you are based on your past compliance and your historical willingness to explain yourself. The moment you stop justifying your boundaries, you disrupt that map, and their immediate reaction is often panic masked as concern or anger. They will accuse you of changing, of becoming cold, or of being selfish, using your guilt as an emotional tether to pull you back into the bucket. You must realize that this resistance is actually a sign that your boundaries are working. An emotionally strong person does not match their family's emotional volume or engage in endless debates to prove they have changed. Epictetus offered explicit, razor-sharp rules on how to handle public ridicule and familial disapproval, noting that if you attempt to please others, you will inevitably fail to govern yourself. He warned his students that when they began their philosophical journey, people would laugh at them, mock their new discipline, and demand to know why they were suddenly acting so superior. His instruction was beautiful in its simplicity. Do not argue, do not explain your philosophy, and do not make a show of your virtue. Instead, let your actions speak for you. If someone tells you that a person has spoken ill of you, do not defend yourself against the story. Merely smile and reply that the critic must not know your other faults, or else they would not have mentioned only these. When applied to your inner circle, this radical self-discipline means allowing your family to hold their mistaken opinions of you without any urge to correct them. If they believe you are being distant because you no longer participate in toxic family gossip, let them hold that belief. If your friends think you have lost your mind because you are skipping nights out to build a new life in silence, let them think you are crazy. The moment you launch into a defensive speech about your goals, your mental health, or your personal growth, you have broken your discipline. You have allowed their external judgment to dictate your internal state. True Stoic discipline is the ability to look directly into the eyes of someone you love, hear their unfair criticism, and feel absolutely no internal requirement to speak a single word in self-defense. This level of restraint requires a profound restructuring of your ego. The ego is terrified of being misunderstood, especially by those whose opinions we historically valued. It screams for justice, it demands a fair trial, and it wants to scream its innocence from the rooftops. But a mature, emotionally resilient mind recognizes that you can either protect your ego or you can protect your peace, but you cannot protect both. If you are finding the strength to choose internal peace over external approval, subscribing to these daily reflections will anchor your mind as we continue this journey together. By refusing to engage in the domestic trials of explanation, you preserve the vital energy required to actually build the life you are designing. You stop leaking power through your mouth and begin consolidating it within your soul, transforming familial friction into the exact resistance training your character needs to grow immovable. This internal containment acts as a psychological pressure cooker, transforming your unuttered words into raw, focused ambition. When you keep your plans, your dreams, and your daily victories private, you accumulate a massive reservoir of internal tension. Most people leak this pressure the moment it builds up, running to social media or to their friends to announce what they are going to do before they have even done it. They seek the cheap, instant hit of dopamine that comes from public praise, mistakenly believing that talking about a goal is the same thing as achieving it. But when you master the art of absolute privacy, that pent-up energy has nowhere to go but into your actual work. Your silence becomes the engine that drives your execution, turning vague desires into an undeniable reality. You do not need to announce your trajectory because the results of your labor will eventually make a noise so loud that no explanation could ever match it. This absolute privacy becomes your ultimate shield against workplace and social sabotage. In any competitive environment, whether it is an office, a creative community, or a social circle, there will always be individuals who look at your growth with envy and malice. If you openly broadcast your ambitions, your strategies, or your vulnerabilities, you are handed your enemies a detailed roadmap on exactly how to undermine your success. They will use your words against you, sabotage your projects behind your back, and use your transparency to manipulate your reputation. But an emotionally strong person is completely invisible to these social predators because you give them absolutely zero data to work with. They cannot disrupt a plan they do not know exists, and they cannot exploit a vulnerability that you have never spoken aloud. You walk through the chaotic arena of social politics like a ghost, untouched by their petty games and completely immune to their calculated traps. We now arrive at the final philosophical climax of this journey, where you realize that the ultimate form of power is not controlling others, but achieving complete and total immunity to their opinions. You are no longer a leaf blown about by the erratic winds of public praise and criticism, but an ancient mountain that remains completely unchanged by the passing storms. When you finally stop explaining yourself, you are not merely adopting a social strategy. You are committing to a profound spiritual revolution. You are declaring that your worth is non-negotiable, that your peace is sacred, and that your life belongs exclusively to you and the cosmic order. You no longer need the world to validate your existence because you have already validated it yourself through honorable action, deep reflection, and radical self-mastery. The desperate need to be understood evaporates entirely, leaving behind a profound, unshakable serenity that nothing in this world can take away from you. As you step back out into the noise of the everyday world, carry this quiet fortress within your chest and remember that your silence is your sovereignty. If you found deep value in these timeless principles of self-possession and wish to keep fortifying your mind against the external chaos, consider subscribing to our circle so we can continue this walk together. True strength never shouts. It speaks in the quiet consistency of your boundaries and the silent depth of your purpose. Guard your peace with absolute discipline. Live your truth without requiring permission, and let your character be your only defense. Until we meet again in another video, stay immovable.